When you get online, you see a lot of different voices and people playing weekend warrior and keyboard warrior, and you hear a lot of noise and just cacophony of nonsense. But then every now and then, there's clarity. Every now and then you find somebody who says, and I say, I like that person. I've been following the next guest for some time. Jeffery Mead is his name. Apparently it was designed in a lab. It's what it says on his X profile. And he's a man who has been clear of voice, clear of mind, and not one of those people banging the pots and pans together, just being focused on a message and cleaning up the mess. Jeffery, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Look, the world's a different place than it was a week ago for all of us. When that shot rang out, I felt like all of us took a shot in some ways. The Constitution took a shot. America took a shot. And when we had to announce live on a program here that I was hosting that Charlie Kirk had died, I think the world changed. But instead of going bananas, you call people out. You kind of focus on things. You zero in on common sense, which is rare. Jeffery, it's rare, and that's why I began following you a while back. Tell me where you are today. This is not something that passes with the news cycle. A lot of things come and go. Big stories come and go in a day or two. This is not passing. I really feel there's been a revelation and a revival in America of sorts. Where are you at today?
That's a good question. I would say upset is a word, but I think we've been too passive about what we've let the left label people on the right. So consistently, the left has been saying the people on the right are fascists. I have videos. I mean, you can find videos of Kamala Harris saying it, of Democratic members of Congress saying it. You can see Democrats in the streets protesting all about it, calling people on the right nauseous. Fast, and I can't even talk this morning. Nazis and fascists, and they've been consistently doing that. So after a certain point in time, people are going to take that to its logical conclusion, and we've just seen an example of that. The shooter had, hey, fascists, catch this, engraved on one of the bullet casings. On top of that, he also had O Bella Ciao, which is an Italian anti-fascist song, also engraved on one of the bullet casings. So his ideology was pretty clear. He took the left's dangerous rhetoric that they've been pressing or pushing consistently, calling people on the right Nazis and fascists. He took that to its logical conclusion and assassinated one of the most prominent conservatives in America. So I don't want to hear the talk of, oh, well, this is happening on both sides. You name me a prominent national figure on the left recently that's been shot. We've got Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk. We're not even talking about Brett Kavanaugh almost being assassinated earlier. I think it was in 2023. We're not talking about any of the, who on the left has had those same things happen. They haven't. Yeah, you can talk about in Minnesota, some state legislators. Yes, that has happened.
Sure.
I'm talking about on a national scale, right? On a national scale, it's been one way.
Yeah, the people in Minnesota, and I think that's a terrible thing that happened. That was a personal vendetta of one guy against Minnesota politicians. Let's be honest, Jeffery. I didn't know her name before she was killed, neither did you. That's not to take away from the tragedy of her life being cut short because she was attacked by a guy who hated her for her politics. But it's not a both sides issue. It's not Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk. It's not a both sides issue. And for those that continue to peddle that filth and try to say, oh, it was a MAGA guy. He's a right-of-center Mormon conservative. No, he's not. He's a guy who's living with a transitioning male and is in a relationship with that person who has a hatred. They both do. It's all pretty well documented now. A hatred for people like Charlie Kirk, for Christians. And when they call Charlie Kirk a Nazi, or you and I Nazis, or in some cases, I guess you're a black white supremacist. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West tells me he gets called that. I'm like, really? You get called a black white supremacist? I'm like, really? So when you label somebody, you dehumanize them. And that's the plan of the left. Dehumanize it. That way, if you get shot, or I get shot, or Charlie Kirk gets shot, it's okay. They weren't really people anyway. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah. It's horrible. But think about it. It's so hypocritical because they say they're the party of compassion and care and love. And they consistently show that they're not. It's different if you're just quiet about his death, but taking the extra step to go celebrate it is a whole other category of disgusting, just disgusting. So, I definitely think the left in many cases are a bunch of hypocrites who are more cared about winning and virtue signaling within their circle than actually being productive, practical, quality members of society.
You know, I see a lot of gnashing of teeth and wringing of hands over the fact that a lot of these folks, professors, teachers, business owners, have been called out, lost their jobs, businesses targeted, and they're like, whoa, wait a second, what about free speech? They don't understand this document that's well worn on my desk, apparently. Freedom of speech has to do with the government, not with whether or not you can keep your job. And speech has consequences. Nobody knows that more than the people who saw Charlie Kirk died. He died for free speech. He died for America. He died being a Christian. And for these people to complain about losing a job, I'm sorry, I don't have compassion for that. You said what you said. There's a price to be paid. There are consequences. Would you agree?
Yes, I do agree. And it's funny because they want to cancel people for saying that, a man can't be a woman. They want to cancel someone for saying that on a proportion basis, Black people commit more murders than any other race in the United States or are more violent. They want to cancel people for saying things that are statistically just factually correct, right? The right, on the other hand, is talking about canceling people for celebrating a political assassination, right? Like the categories are not the same. But essentially for them, it's, rules for thee, but not for me. We can cancel you guys for saying stuff we don't like, but you can't try to cancel us for celebrating a political assassination. But yet they claim to be morally superior. It just, when you pay attention to it, it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. They want to attack and cancel and shame, and it doesn't work anymore. Here's what I think. I think on the 10th of September, the debate was over. For millions of Americans, for the people that I call the normies, the normal people that just go to work, they don't pay attention to social media the way you and I do. They don't get all wound up in the news cycle the way I do, certainly, and probably you do as well. They just go to work, and then they see their neighbor, or maybe their pastor, or their school teacher for their kid celebrating the assassination, because pretty much millions of people saw this, and they see these people celebrating the murder of a 31-year-old father of two, and they're like, wait a second. These normies are not like, I don't want anything to do with that, and they're moving to the right in massive numbers. I believe there is this phenomenon happening. Are you feeling the same?
Yes, I do feel the same. I also think it's happening with the younger generation. I think this is a little too early to tell, and it might be just because, in my algorithm leans right on TikTok. But I've never seen this many videos of people coming out and saying they're leaving the left. I've also never seen this many young people making it culturally cool to be a conservative right now. And I'm seeing it all over TikTok right now. So I definitely do think there is a movement that's happening. And I do think people are trending pretty aggressively towards the right.
It began with Charlie Kirk. I mean, we're looking at the most conservative young generation, maybe of my lifetime, certainly in 50 years. And Charlie Kirk fueled that, didn't he?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trump gave him massive credit for that. And you can tell, there was nobody else in the country who was going to colleges drawing the crowds that he was drawing.
Correct.
Right. So he played a massive role in getting young people trending conservative. And it seems that his death, honestly, might just accelerate that aggressively.
I'm with Jeffery Mead here on the program. You can find him on X at @Jeffery Mead, standard spellings, MEAD. Hold 1 second. We'll be right back here on the Steve Gruber Show. Back to it now with Jeffery Mead here on the Steve Gruber Show. Where do we go from here, Jeffrey? I see you take on all sorts of third rails, which I appreciate. You're not afraid to have a conversation, much like Charlie wasn't, or I am. Free speech is the foundational principle of this country. I think it's the envy of the world. I think the whole world wishes they had a First Amendment where you could speak your mind, practice your religion the way you see fit, have a redress of grievances for the government, gather if you wanted, have a freedom of the press as well. Where do we go from here? What's going to happen? I see this movement to the right. We were talking about that. Young people becoming more conservative. I think the last time I saw it, 38,000 applications for new TPUSA chapters, 38,000. There were 900 college chapters, 1,200 high school chapters, 3,500 total affiliations for TPUSA prior to the 10th of September. They have 38,000 applications. Charlie Kirk is more powerful in death. Believe it or not, it's a terrible price to pay, but much more powerful in death. More people have heard him since he died than ever heard him in his lifetime. Jeffrey, he's being heard everywhere, every day, millions, billions of downloads. The voice of Charlie Kirk will echo through the ages, won't it?
Yeah, I think it absolutely will. And especially you're going to see it's like it's taking over social media right now. And I've seen a lot of people come out and say, hey, you know, I went and watched full videos of Charlie Kirk, not the stuff that's taken out of context. I went and found the source material and actually watched it. And I didn't see anything wrong with what he said. A lot of people are saying this. I'm seeing this on social media. Because if you pay attention to a lot of the claims about him being racist, a bigot, he hates women, all these things, if you go find the source material for those things, you will see that a lot of what they're saying he said is taken out of context to paint him in a certain way.
That's exactly right. You know, one of the best videos I've seen, I'd seen it previously, I've seen it pop up a number of times, an openly anti-homosexual speakers at the microphone. And Charlie just dissects him in front of everybody. Said, look, why do you care what they do in the privacy of their own bedroom? Christianity takes patience, it takes dedication, and he just destroys this guy. And people are out there saying, well, Charlie was a homophobe. No, clearly he wasn't. They say, well, he didn't want black pilots in the airplane. That's not what he said. He said he wants the most qualified people in the seat. That's what he said. He doesn't want DEI dictating who the doctor or pilot is. Nothing to do with who's sitting in the pilot seat specifically. Everything just torn apart, out of context, to support the gaslighting, which I think is failing miserably.
Yeah, it is. And that's part of what I'm doing. I'm working on dissecting all those lies and providing the context behind them so people can know the truth. Because a lot of what the left is currently relying on is lies and misinformation and taking things out of context to paint Charlie and the right in a certain narrative. But when you add context to a lot of that, like I said before, their argument really falls apart.
Yeah, here's an easy one. Just looking at your feed here. There are a lot of, screaming, well, Donald Trump said attack the news media. They put a bomb under a truck there. It's a Fox News vehicle. Yeah, but they just pick and choose their facts to fit their narrative. And here's where I think finally, and God bless Elon Musk for taking over this platform that we call X. Therefore, we can get out there and we can discuss things. And people that are smart enough can pick through the nonsense and find the truth. And like you, go find source videos and do the work, or listen to people like you and others that say, wait a second, that's not what was said. Watch this. This is what was said. It is so important because you can't trust MSNBC or Chicken Noodle News or the Washington Post or the New York Times. You can't. You just can't, can you?
No, you can't.
You can have that line,
again,
by the way. You can call it Chicken Noodle News anytime you want. You can have that.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. That's a new one. I haven't heard that before. Yeah, no, you can't trust them. And that's why you're seeing that, like, the ratings and the distrust in the mainstream media, like, fall off a cliff, essentially. And a lot of independent voices are gaining prominence because you can't trust them. It's been very clear they've been trying to paint a narrative and really to demonize Donald Trump and then also the right in support of the left. So, but people are waking up to it. And I think that's why he won the popular vote. I think that's why mainstream media is falling off the cliff. And I think that's why independent voices and podcasters have become so popular.
Yeah, let me dig into one other thing that is circulating from the mouths of Chuck Schumer and Jasmine Crockett and who else? Who knows? Doesn't matter. 97% of the violence comes from those on the right. Only 3% comes from those on the left. Look, I don't know how many cocktails you have to have before noon before that stuff starts coming out of your mouth. But it concerns me for their well-being, because for them to say, after Donald Trump has been shot, Charlie Kirk has been assassinated, baseball members of Congress were gunned down on a baseball field. Steve Scalise barely survived. If not for his protection team, he probably would have died there. So would my congressman that day. How do they continue to spew this when everybody knows it's not true? But they continue to push this idea. It's right-wing, white supremacists are the danger. Nazis are the danger. White men are the danger. Really? Am I the danger? Jeffrey, am I the guy?
Yeah, I mean, it's about narrative control. So notice a lot of them will say 97 or whatever percent of the extreme violence comes from the right. Okay, they don't say extreme political violence. They say extremist. So essentially, if you see, if a white supremacist gets in a bar fight and kills someone, they're calling that extreme violence, even if the fight wasn't about race, right? So, but if you pay attention, like I said earlier, name me the national prominent figures on the left who have been shot in recent history. I can name you Donald Trump. I can name you Charlie Kirk. Name me the national figures on the left who have been shot. They can't. It hasn't happened. So this is a one-side thing right now.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is this. Fascism, they call us fascists. That's the one word I've missed today. The top of the mountain move for a fascist is to shoot somebody you don't agree with. So calling Charlie Kirk a fascist and then murdering him, I mean, that is the most blatantly fascist thing you could do. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's definitely the most fascist thing you can do. Sorry, I got some work going on, so some people at the door behind me. I have to go here in a second. But yeah, I definitely think that is one of the most fascist things you can do. It's also very hypocritical, again, because this side is saying, hey, we're the side of compassion, we're the side of caring, and a lot of them are creating a permission structure for violence. They're
That's right.
also quite literally, in many cases, supporting the violence.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of hypocrisy going on.
Jeffrey Mead, I got to leave it there myself as well. I greatly appreciate you coming. You can come anytime you want. Common sense, it's got a place at the table here, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you. You have a good day.
Thank you so much. Jeffrey Mead, everybody. Find him on X. You'll be glad you did. It's the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back.